Hello, and welcome to the Insider Power Hour at the Functional Medicine Center for Wellness. Thank you for being here today. We are actually going to conclude our series on reducing your inflammatory risk score. So, if you remember early on, we did an inflammatory risk score to see where exactly you fell in your inflammation status. We covered what foods contribute to inflammation and how to use foods to lower inflammation. Then we went to stress and how stress creates an inflammatory response, how to calm the vagus nerve, and to use certain exercises and activities to get yourself into a rest and digest state or the parasympathetic state. And then we talked about sleep and what were the healing powers of sleep and how did sleep help you with repair. And we talked about all those things. So today, I believe that the one thing that we don't talk about a whole lot because people are a little bit um, not scared, but intimidated by the topic of toxins. So, so let's get into what is toxic burden? Where do we get toxins from? And I'm going to share my screen here, and I just want to get into real quick again what is the Insider Power Hour? What is exactly that we're doing? Today is June 30th, and our topic for today is the toxins. But these group visits provide an additional opportunity for you to connect with me and my team. As you know, I have a wellness coach. I'm in the process of finalizing an onboarding for a clinical wellness nutritionist. And this is all part of working with me, and it's a benefit that I hope you enjoy. So we do an educational presentation or a guest lecture, and I go over this every single time so that you understand what we'll be doing. Because if this is your first visit with us, what is happening, what's going on. These first 30 minutes are the educational part. It's recorded and placed into the Solutions Learning Library, which you will all have access to. We can do a lecture, we can do a series of lectures, we can do question and answer, and we can do lab review. The closed group discussion, which is the second part of this event, is not recorded and is only attended by people who are in treatment planning with me. And that may also include one of the team members, one of the wellness coaches. And we really talk about some of your wins, some of your vulnerabilities and your struggles, and to really get a sense of community and sharing in our group. So you get to learn a little bit and you get to share a little bit if you want to. It's completely guided. It's completely optional. You can just sit back and listen if you like. But these are the rules. Be curious and open-minded, please. Everyone is at a different stage in their journey. We are students and learning. I am too. No one has all the answers, and emotions are welcomed and embraced. Sometimes we talk about a lot of things that have been part of our experience and our journey into where we are right now, and they can be a little emotional. We don't mean for it to make you cry or feel upset, but please don't think of terms in black and white, but in shades of gray. So the topic for today, toxins. What's the story and what is the burden? So we are going to actually review our, kind of go back to the inflammatory risk score. And if you're new to the series or you haven't jumped into the series, you can go back to the very first one, download this, take the inflammatory risk quiz, and see where you are in this particular risk score and let you know if we're in danger, and what kind of work do we need to do, and then watch the rest of the series so that you can get a handle on some of the things that we're talking about. But today, like I said, we're going to talk about total body burden of toxins. Now, if we look at these different stages of exposure to inflammation, in every single stage, there is some sort of toxin overload, burden, exposure, right? And sometimes we can just get toxins from our food and our health and body um, items and things that we just do every day. We don't mean to be exposed to them. We don't even know we may be exposed to them. And I believe the statistics now are that there's over 200 toxins that are detectable in a newborn infant and in their bloodstream, exposure from mom. Detoxifying and doing detoxification for mom and dad prior to wanting to get pregnant is really important. At least 3 to 6 months before that, detoxification while you're breastfeeding or while you're pregnant is not an option. Because as you release toxins, it goes into the breast milk. So we would have you do that about 3 to 4 months after you've finished breastfeeding, if that's your plan. So everybody will have access, and you, of course, will get this graphic, which is really, really nice. So why is there a bucket here, right? We all live in, and again, this is from Dr. Laura, who's a great mentor of mine. And she's very kind in sharing these wonderfully crafted graphics. So we live in a toxic world. We have toxicity around us all the time. Arsenic levels are actually very high in most everybody that I test for toxins. And toxins are a scary concept for a lot of people because toxins are poison. And we know that poison can kill us, right? In its purest form. But what we look at when we look at toxin burden is your ability to clear toxins away, because the body has a wonderful process called phase 1, phase 2 detoxification that can do that. And so we have a bucket here because when you put, and you can do this with your kids, and some of you may have done this even when you were a kid, you do it every time you go into a bathtub, right? It's called displacement. You fill up the bathtub, certain air amount, you get in, the water rises. So the more toxin exposure that you get, the water rises. The water rises. Now, the water, you can control that water if you open the drain, right? Right down here. If you open the drain and allow some of that water to come out. And when you and I start working together, we have that conversation about phase 2, phase 1, phase 2 detoxification, and how I have you envision a bathroom drain that's kind of clogged up. And this is also talking about how toxic burden can overload in your bucket and create all these symptoms. So food sensitivities, right? People who come to me and say, you know what, I can only eat like 4 things. I can't tolerate anything anymore. So one of the things we have to think about is, what is the toxic burden? What's happening to this bucket? Is phase 1, phase 2 detoxification blocked and creating this overflow, right? So that's the purpose of today's topic, is to understand how all of these toxic exposures that we have on a daily basis, when we combine them and don't have the ability to detoxify appropriately, some of them, estrogen. we get rid of estrogen through our bowels. And so if we're constipated, we have a block, right? We can't get rid of, the bathroom drain is blocked. Maybe you're doing phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification perfectly fine, but then you have this block. So this is what I want you to think about when we think about toxins. And we often don't jump to testing for toxins right away unless we have a clear indication in your discovery visit that this is really what we're dealing with. And there's a way that we can measure that. And there's the adult toxic exposure form that you fill out. We can take a look at that. We look at epigenetics, we look at family history, we look at work and life events. And then we try to put together this pattern of what are the symptoms that are telling us that you may have an overburden, a toxic overburden, and then how do we clear that? So the beginning work is often just opening up your bathroom drain, your phase 1, phase 2 detoxification. And then sometimes we don't have to go to testing for toxins unless we're not getting forward progress. Then we have that discussion. And again, I don't want you to be afraid of that discussion of toxins. And please know that as soon as we start working together as a team, we are always evaluating your ability to clear toxins. It's critical in everything that we do. And I may not tell you specifically that we are doing a detox program, but rarely, I will never say never, but rarely do we ignore detoxification while we're putting together your treatment planning, your intensity of your treatment planning. Some people do very well on detoxification kits, you know, the kits that you can buy. People are like, hey, do a detox with me. And other people don't do well on detox because there's a way to specifically, and we've kind of talked about this in a lot of the education classes that we talk about is if you don't do this in the right layered pattern, you can make someone feel really, really awful. And even if you do it in the right pattern, if there are deficits or some sort of blockage in any one of these that we're not maybe aware of right away, some of those things could be genetic things. Some of those things could be leaky gut. Some of those things could be constipation. Some of those things could be DNA damage. So there's a lot of things that can go mitochondrial health, you know, how healthy are your mitochondria to handle this? And we sometimes need to stop, slow down, find out what the issue is so that we can get this back on track. But interesting to know, we are always working on detox, even though we might not say, hey, we're doing a detox kit. So and I kind of went through this kind of fast because we've talked about detoxification a lot, and we've talked about how detoxification and how all of the other things affect detoxification. So it's always essential along with the gut and many different puzzle pieces, remember, that fit together. So when we go to the closed group today, we're going to talk about finding some hidden toxic exposures, how to easily remove those toxic burdens, and how to make sure that your phase 1, phase 2 detoxification is always open and we're removing toxins in a very effective manner. Then also we're going to talk about, you know, what kind of signs and symptoms did you have or are you currently having that might indicate toxic burden, an increased toxic burden. And what are some of the things that you can do today to, in your treatment plan, in your food plan, that you can focus on that would help you reduce that and get that bathroom drain open again. So get your questions ready, and we will see you in the closed discussion group. My wish for you is good health. We'll see you soon.